So, if you're a Liverpool fan right now, there's a lot to talk about, right? Today, we're going to get into the heart of those conversations, looking at what the fan media is saying about the anxieties and the big debates happening around the club. What's really going on at Anfield? Let's unpack it.
It really feels like three major themes are dominating everything. First, there's this huge immediate test on the pitch. Then, you've got this tricky puzzle in the transfer market. And maybe most seriously, there are these reports of a deep conflict, even a civil war, happening behind the scenes. We're going to look at all three.
So here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with that massive Arsenal game. Then we'll get into the transfer strategy, dig into that reported internal conflict, see what's going on with the youth player debate, and wrap it all up by asking what this all means for where the club goes from here.
All right, first things first. The most immediate pressure point, this massive showdown with Arsenal. And it's a match that has a lot of fans feeling, as one source put it, a little bit of trepidation. And you can see why.
I mean, just look at the situation here. Liverpool are heading to the Emirates to play a team being called the runaway league leaders, a team that is sitting a massive 14 points clear at the top. That is a huge mountain to climb for anyone.
And that challenge looks even bigger when you compare the recent form of the two clubs. Arsenal's is described as nothing short of perfect. Meanwhile, Liverpool, well, yeah, they're unbeaten in 9, but the performances have been mixed, to say the least. They haven't been all that convincing. The contrast is just, wow, it's stark.
But despite that form guide, history tells a slightly different story. As you can see, Arsenal have lost more Premier League games to Liverpool than almost any other team. So, there is this historical edge, and for the fan base, that's a real glimmer of hope.
Still, the mood right now is definitely one of realism. This prediction from Anfield Agenda just captures that feeling perfectly. It's not what you want to say, but it's an honest admission that probably reflects how a lot of fans are feeling at this moment.
So, all these challenges on the pitch, they naturally lead to questions about what's happening in the back room. Because beyond just one game, the bigger concern is about the future of the squad. And that means we have to talk about the transfer market.
So what's the plan? Well, according to reports from The Athletic's James Pearce, the official line from the club is to expect a quiet window. But, and this is the key part, they've said they will act if the right player comes along at the right price. And the two big areas they're looking at are center back and a wide attacker.
And here are just some of the names being floated around. Marc Guehi is the big one, a guy who could be a free agent next summer. But the catch is, Manchester City might try to move now, which could force Liverpool's hand. Bradley Barcola is seen as a major target for the summer, while reports about other players like Ordóñez are being shot down by the club. It's all very complicated and, honestly, pretty uncertain.
And all this transfer talk brings us to what might be the deepest, most fundamental issue being reported in the fan media: an alleged internal battle over the entire philosophy and direction of the football club.
At its core, it's a clash of two different visions. On one side, you've reportedly got the manager, Arne Slot, who wants to win now with proven senior players. And on the other side, you've got the club's hierarchy, who are said to be pushing for a much stronger focus on bringing through talent from the academy.
And this whole debate is playing out very publicly. One outlet, Anfield Watch, is going as far as to say a civil war is brewing, even claiming the manager was overruled on a key transfer. But then you have This Is Anfield, which is reporting that sources inside the club are totally baffled by these claims and think that stats are being cherry-picked just to create a negative story. It's a classic case of two totally competing narratives.
So, what's the evidence for this supposed clash in philosophies? Well, let's look at the specific examples being brought up in this whole debate around youth development.
The reports are citing a few key things. There's one pretty damning claim that the manager didn't even show up to a player showcase that was specifically organized for him to see the academy talent. Then you've got the on-pitch evidence. A really promising midfielder, Trey Nyoni, has played just 2 minutes of league football. And then there's the story that the manager was basically forced to keep the young winger Ngumoha on the books.
And look, this isn't just a media debate. Club legends are getting involved. Here you have John Aldridge making the case for using a player like Ngumoha precisely because he's unpredictable, something the team needs. And he brings up that classic saying, if you're good enough, you're old enough.
And this quote from a fan account really gets to the emotional heart of it all. There's this sense of nostalgia for how the previous manager, Klopp, handled young players. And there's a real feeling that this new cutthroat management style is just not what the club is all about. It feels like a departure from their identity.
So when you put all of this together, the pressure on the pitch, the uncertainty in the transfer market, and this really deep philosophical debate, you start to see a club that looks like it's at a major crossroads.
And ultimately, it really seems to boil down to these two competing visions for the future. You've got Vision A, the win-now approach, prioritize proven talent, go for immediate glory. Then there's Vision B, which is all about developing from within, making the academy a core part of the strategy right now. This is the fundamental choice the club seems to be facing.
And so that leaves us with the final massive question. From the result against Arsenal, to the next player they sign, to the very identity of the team we see on the pitch, which path is Liverpool going to choose? The answer to that is going to define their entire next chapter.